Hey, 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 you know what day it is. What day is it? It's Tuesday Tea with D. Tuesday Tea with D. Tuesday Tea with D. Tuesday Tea with D. It's Tuesday Tea with D. Come on, Tuesday Tea with D. 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 Hey, boo, hey, it's your girl, Detra Trueheart, your life purpose generator, purpose provoker, your personal life coach here with another weekly serving of Tuesday Tea with D. And this week's conversation obviously is piggybacking on the conversation that I had for my Monday morning walk talk. And today's conversation is showing up as the fullest version of you. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that in a second. I have a couple of things that I want to share with you. The first one, of course, you already know, is my tea. And I think this is the pomegranate green tea that I'm drinking. It's one of my loose teas. Oh, that's good. I put a little bit more honey in it. When I first made it, it wasn't hitting right. And I had to warm up the water a little bit because I boiled the water, but then, once it sits, it gets cool. And I don't really like lukewarm tea. Like I like it when it's like hot. Like I like it warm, but not lukewarm. I don't like that. So I think me nuking it a little bit and putting a little bit more honey in it. Honey, the tea steeped, the honey settled. This is good. And it's hot. So let's talk the weather. Okay, wait, sidebar. It's like going to be 80 a couple of days here. I'm so excited. Okay, I don't want to scream, but I really want to scream. I've been waiting for this weather. I love this weather. And I'm so excited that it has shown up, which means that I literally have to start swapping out all my things because I still got like fall, winter stuff, child, because it's been cold here a couple of days. But I'm really excited. It was beautiful yesterday. It's going to be beautiful today. I think like the next couple of days, we're going to hit 80s and then it'll be between I think 60s and 70s, low, high 70s. But honey, I'm here for it. The next thing I wanted to share is next week. And really, this all depends on when you're watching this, right? And so as of today, it is March 21st, 2024. But as of this recording, this replay of Tuesday Tea with D, May, and I'm going to put this up so that you can see this. Next Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday at 12 noon, I want to invite you to join me for the You Experience. Now, if you were with me when I did this a couple years ago, and I don't even know why I'm not doing this every year, and I'm probably going to do it again sometime this year, but this is my free 3-day masterclass for the high capacity, busy Christian woman who needs a reset and a reminder to put herself back on her own to-do list by reclaiming her mind, her time, and her voice. And of course, it is hosted by me. And so you can register by going to trueheartspeaks.mykajabi.com/you. So make sure that you register because the information is down there. We will be live 3 days. It's kind of like a lunch and learn. And so it is 12 noon Eastern Standard Time. You're going to want to register. And if you are not able to join us live, there will be limited access to the replays. This year, I'm doing it in Zoom as opposed to my Facebook group, simply because I want to start pulling some stuff off of Facebook and off of social media, right? So make sure you go to trueheartspeaks.mykajabi.com/you in order to get access to register and to join me next week. So this link will also be down in the description of this week's YouTube video. The next thing, because next week, honey, is going to be busy, but it's going to be juicy, is not the You Experience. Let me just pull this out. My Sit, Soak, and Seek is back next Friday, May 31st. So we're kicking off the first. So we got Memorial Day on Monday. And then Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday is the You Experience. And then we're closing out the month with the Sit, Soak, and Seek prayer and worship experience. And so you can register at trueheartspeaks.mykajabi.com/SSS. This is a free event as well. Oh, and I probably should have mentioned that the You Experience is also free. And so both of them, so you're getting like some juiciness closing out, right? Closing out the month. But this is free, and technically you don't really have to register. Registration is not required, but it does help me know how many people to expect at the event, right? And so as this grows, it will really be helpful. But feel free to jump in if you are in the local Buffalo or Western New York area. It is going to be at Impacting Love Global Ministries. I'll put this here again so you can see the information. I will remove this, but Impacting Love Global Ministries in the Walden Galleria Mall is on the lower level. If you come in and enter through the PF Chang's entrance, then that is it. And you keep walking straight, you will walk right into the building, right? So with that being said, and we've got all kind of juiciness happening, I hope to see you. If you're not local, I hope to see you on the U at the U Experience Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And if you are local, I want to see you Tuesday through Friday, right? You are more than welcome to fly in, drive in, wherever you are, to join us for worship. The Sit, Soak, and Seek is really good. And so it is a unconventional worship experience that the Lord gave me back in February when we were coming out of 21 days of prayer. And it really was, God really wants to spend time with us. And I think we get so busy, and I think we complicate the silence and the solitude and just those moments of stillness with him, that we think we have to fill it with things. And so from 6:30 to 8:30, you are invited to an intimate and personal time of prayer and worship between you and God in a corporate setting. There's nobody coming in that's going to be leading you in prayer. There are going to be no worship leaders who are going to be setting the tone. This is a space where those who normally lead prayer services, those who normally lead worship during services, the musicians, all of that, you can come because the music will be playing throughout the time and setting the tone, but you don't have to worry about stepping in or anything like that, right? So I really want you to make your way to join us next Friday. And more importantly, I've been having so many conversations with women just about putting themselves first and really reclaiming themselves in this season, right? We have been putting ourselves on the back burner for way too long. And we know that life is short, but for whatever reason, we know that life is short. We know that we have a limited time here, but we yet and still we decide that, or not even decide, I mean, it is a choice, but for whatever reason, we choose, I guess I will use that word, not to show up as the fullest expression of ourselves, right? To show up for ourselves in the same way that we show up for others. Hence my transition into today's conversation. This conversation, as I said, is piggybacking on the conversation I had in my Facebook group. If you're not a part of the iSpeaklife Society, every Monday morning between 7:45 and 8-ish, I go live for what I call the Monday morning walk talk while I'm doing my mall walk. And this week's conversation was, what would it look like if you showed up as the highest and best version of who God created you to be? And so today's conversation is showing up as the fullest expression of you. And the reason I want to have this extended conversation with you is for you to really take some time to think about what that would look like. I don't think that we give ourselves enough opportunity, enough time, and enough space to dream unconventionally, to dream uncommonly, to dream what's the word that I want to say? Like without unrestricted, right? Without limits. And just to put our minds in a space of really reaching beyond what we're used to or where we have been, right? And so what I find, and so let me just backtrack. This conversation, even from yesterday, came from the weekend when I spent a day and a half with my incubator intensive ladies. So shout out to my incubator ladies who will probably be watching this. And we had a conversation around this very sentence, quote. And it really came from, and I don't know if I have it here with me. I don't. I think it's over there. But we're reading, not necessarily together, but we're reading the book Worthy. I gifted that to them as part of being in the incubator. And one of the things that she talked about was showing up or moving in a space where it is your soul's fullest expression. And we talked about like what would it look like for you to show up, or doing things when you show up. It is your soul's fullest expression, right? It is the fullest expression of who God created you to be, right? Before all of life happened, God knew you. He formed you, right? He created you before you were in your mother's womb, before the foundation of the world. God knew you, right? And so because he knew you, and because he deposited purpose in you, and because he created you to be this phenomenal creature, this being that you are, sometimes we base our identity on what has happened to us. And so we don't show up as the fullest expression of ourselves. We show up through the lens of these experiences that have happened to us. And so when we take some time to take a step back and really, so here's the question. My mind is moving faster than my mouth. And so let me slow down. Let me take a sip of tea. I want you to think about, because I had to have this conversation with myself, because I found myself seeing myself and really operating from my identity, placing it through the lens of my pain, through the lens of certain circumstances, through the lens of certain situations that happened to me. And God had to begin to speak to me to remind me that that's not my identity, that that's not the whole of who I am, right? It's a part, it's a portion, right? And when you look at yourself maybe as a book, it might be a chapter, but then again, it might only be a couple of pages. But sometimes things can be so detrimental and it can be so disruptive in our lives that showing up as your highest and best self, which the enemy, let me just say, does not want you to do that. And so understanding that he doesn't want you to show up as the highest and best version of you. And so he gets a chance to use open doors that happen in your life that could essentially be God sent, but they could be sent by the enemy. Like sometimes we're like the enemy this, and sometimes it's not. As I talked about over the weekend with the incubator ladies, I said sometimes it could be a Job circumstance. It could simply be a situation where God had in a conversation and said, have you considered my servant so-and-so? Put your name in there. And in that, all of a sudden, your whole entire life disrupts. And so it could be a God moment, but then sometimes it could be a situation and God allows the enemy to come in and disrupt. And sometimes it's just circumstances that happen that God didn't allow, God didn't give permission for. Sometimes it's things that we put ourselves into and we leave the door open for the enemy to come in. But whatever it is, there's certain things that happen in our lives that can be a gateway, and it could be a detriment to us showing up as a fullest and highest expression of ourselves. And so I really want you to think about, and I want you to get a journal, I want you to get a pen, and I want you to think about what it will look like if you showed up as the fullest expression of you. And so let me say this: the fullest expression of you is not perfection. The fullest expression of you is not having it all together. The fullest expression of you is not putting on some facade to make people think like it's perfect and that it's all together. The fullest expression of you is literally showing up as you, as authentic, as you, right? Like the who you are, right? Your personality, what you bring to the table, right? Your character, your integrity, your smile, your personality. Like, what are the things that make you you, and how do you show up? If you find yourself to be a leader, like, how do you stop hiding so that you can step into a leadership role, right? Or you don't want to intimidate anybody with your bold personality. Or even if you are a quiet leader, you don't have to be somebody that you're not to step into the fullest expression of who you are. What does that look like? Are you self-aware? Do you know yourself enough to know what the fullest expression of you is? If you think back to before life happened, and sometimes we can't, because child, it's like it happened so far back. But if you think back, at what point do you remember being alive and taking risks and life being kind of like limitless? I want you to pause and take a moment and think about that. Sometimes your life, and this is on another end, sometimes your life has been in survival mode your entire life, you don't even know what it's like to thrive. You don't even know what it's like. And so in some instances, you got to get to know you. You have to get to know the version of you that operates out of survival. You have to take an opportunity to get to know the you that operates out of every time something happens, you hide, or there's this disturbance, or you operate out of shame, or you like whatever it is. And so I want to encourage you to really sit with yourself and really think about, what that would look like. And I love opportunities like my incubator where I can sit in the room with the ladies and we can dialogue and we can talk and we can break some things down, which is what we did. And so if I were with you one-on-one or collectively, we would have good conversation about this, right? And giving you an opportunity to write some things down and to process some things, because sometimes you'll watch this and then you'll go on about your day and you'll forget all about it. And then somewhere along the lines, when you come into my space and then I present this to you again, you actually then have to do the work, right? And so part of this conversation, some of what we're going to talk about next week for the you experience, is this idea around what does showing up as the fullest expression of you, what does that look like when you reclaim your mind, reclaim your time, and reclaim your voice? Right? There's something about mindset. There's something about what you do with the time and the energy that God has given you and your voice, right? Not just you talking, but your voice. There's something about that. And for whatever reason, a lot of times how we move is based upon how we think. Right? How we speak is based upon how we think, right? How you progress sometimes is based upon what you're doing with your time. And so sometimes you're not productive because you're not really doing what you should be doing with your time. And sometimes you don't know. Sometimes you've given it all away. And so I'm not going to give all the nuggets away. I'm not giving any of the nuggets away for next week, but I want to encourage you to register, because we are going to have a deeper conversation over 3 days around this showing up as the fullest expression of you, what it looks like to reclaim you, what it looks like to reset and remind yourself to put yourself back on your own to-do list. Like when you make your plans, when you writing the to-do list, when you're creating all of these different things, are you considered? Are you top of mind? And sometimes you are not top of mind. Sometimes, most times, you are at the bottom of the totem pole. You make sure everybody else is okay before you make sure you are okay. And so the fullest expression of you is taking you into consideration. The fullest expression of you is making sure that you are not taking less than what is your portion and what has been given to you. Right. So I want you to think about that. Like, I want you to think about you showing up as the highest and fullest expression of you. Like, what does that look like? Are you showing up excited? Do you show up full? Do you show up and you stand your ground in certain situations? So showing up as the fullest expression of you, understanding that your yes means yes and your no means no. Showing up as the highest and fullest expression of you is not taking a lower salary when you know that that you've worked and you've earned the ability to be able to make more, right? That you negotiate for more, that you don't just accept the bare minimum, but you accept more than enough, like exceeding over, right? And so when we get to the point of showing up as the highest and the fullest expression of ourselves, it means not settling. It means not playing safe. It doesn't mean perfection. It doesn't mean everything has to be. Sometimes things are not together, but showing up as the highest and the fullest expression of who you are. So part of showing up as the fullest expression of me as a worshiper and somebody who prays is that I can set an atmosphere no matter where I am. And so my circumstances might not be perfect, but I can still show up as in the fullest expression of me because I love God, and because I can pray, and because I can read his word. Like, I'm showing up as myself. So what does that look like for you? Right? What does that look like for you? Tapping into the full essence of who you are, your soul's fullest expression of joy, of love, of kindness. You're right. Are you a giver, but you stop giving because people were doing too much taking? But a lot of that has to do with boundaries, right? And so when you show up as the fullest expression of yourself, you give, right? Because you love giving, but you also have a full understanding of boundaries. And so you don't give to the point of where people take who are not appreciative, or people take to the point of taking advantage of you. You're aware. So that's what I have for today. Like, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, because I want you to join me next week for the experience. Tuesday, May 28th, 29th, and 30th. I also want you to join me for Sit, Soak, and Seek, because I love that we get to close the month out in prayer and worship, but I also love that we get to close out the month on really getting clear on what it looks like to really show up for ourselves in the same way that we show up for other people, right? So with that being said, let me take a sip of this tea. You know it's good. And I don't know if I told you, I have ginger honey in here. So I can taste the little ginger kick along with the sweetness of the honey and the tea. It's good. It's good. So let me know in the comments. Are you showing up as the fullest and highest expression of yourself? Are you, and if not, why, right? And then also, what would that look like? What does showing up as the fullest expression of you look like? And let me just say this before I close. There are levels to this, right? And so showing up as your fullest expression, you should show up as your fullest expression at every level, right? But I believe that with experience and exposure, there's expansion. And so with that, there's an ability of there's an expansiveness to you that at each level there's a greater capacity and a different version of you that evolves, right, and blossoms and develops as you elevate, right? And so at the level where you are right now, I want you just to think about, and again, it's not showing up perfect, it's not having all the things together, but showing up as the fullest expression of you. Like for some of you, it really just means taking you into consideration when you make decisions, and stop putting you on the back burner, and stop not considering you or considering you last. Like at what point at what point do you start to consider you first? I want you to think about that, right? What does showing up as the highest and best version of you that God created you to be, what does that look like? Does it look like showing up, fearless, or does it look like showing up, feeling the fear and doing it anyway? Like what does that really look like? And I want you to take some time, and I want you to journal. In addition to that, I'm going to put this information up again. Make sure you join me for the You Experience on May 28th, 29th, and 30th. And you can register at TrueheartSpeaks.mykajabi.com/you. And then the other piece is, let me pull this down. It is 12 noon Eastern Standard Time daily. And then the next thing is, I want you to join me next Friday for Sit, Soak, and Seek. And you can get the details here. Same web link, right? TrueheartSpeaks.mykajabi.com/you. One is SSS, the other one is you. And so I hope that you do plan to join me. And make sure, again, you subscribe to the YouTube channel. Make sure you like this video. Make sure you comment below. Let me know what comes up for you with this. And then also, I want you to share this with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people, right? Pick 5 people that you know. A couple weeks ago, we talked about your top 5. Send this to your top 5, right? Who are the top 5 people that you spend the most time with? Or top 5 people who you feel like they need this, because you all need to be showing up together as the fullest expression of yourselves. Okay. So I will see you next time, next week on Tuesday Tea with D. Tuesday Tea with D. Tuesday Tea with D. Tuesday Tea with D.